สวัสดีครับผมผู้ช่วยศาสตราจารย์กิตติ ลาภประสิทธิ์วิทยากรประจำรายวิชาภาษาอังกฤษในฐานะภาษาโลกครับและวันนี้เราอยู่กับอาจารย์อลัน พลัดอาจารย์ประจำศูนย์ภาษาและบริการวิชาการวิทยาลัยนานาชาติเพื่อศึกษาความยั่งยืนมหาวิทยาลัยศรีนครินทร์วิโรจน์ครับวันนี้อาจารย์อลัน พลัดจะมาตอบคำถามในหลายประเด็นที่เกี่ยวข้องกับความหลากหลายของภาษาอังกฤษในประเทศอังกฤษครับและตอนนี้อาจารย์อลัน พลัดก็อยู่กับเราเรียบร้อยแล้วนะครับHello, Ajahn Alan. Could you please introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. I was born in a town called Oldham in England. Oldham is a small town around 8 miles from Manchester. And actually, I grew up in Manchester as a child. After leaving school, I worked as a research scientist. And during that time, I graduated in chemistry. Around the age of 28, I decided on a change of career and became a teacher. I've been teaching in Thailand for 14 years, and I've been teaching at the university for the last 10 years.
So let's begin with the first question. Do you think English is used differently in the UK?
I think if we're comparing British English with other varieties of English, such as American English, then I would say yes, it is used differently. Firstly, there are differences in grammar. So, for example, in British English, we would use the present perfect tense, whereas in American English, they would use past simple tense in those cases. There are differences in pronunciation. For example, the word defense in American English would be defense in British English. There are differences in spelling also. So, for example, words with O-U-R in British English, like colour, would be spelled O-R. C-O-L-O-R in American English. Also, I think there's some differences in the writing as well. For example, in American English, dates are written differently from how they are written in British English.
Yeah, so there are differences between British English and American English.
And other varieties.
Yeah, okay. So there are differences between British English and American English. So what about accents? How many accents are there in the UK?
As far as I know, in the UK, there are around 37 dialects. So within each of those dialects, there's going to be a number of accents. And I would estimate there are at least 100 accents in the UK. I think for non-native speakers, we can simplify that a little. And I think we can break it down into around maybe 10 or 15 regions of the UK where they have similar accents. So I think we'll start in the north. You've got Scotland and Northern Ireland. Coming further south in the northeast, you have the Geordie accent around the Newcastle area. It's quite well known. And then coming further south again, across the north of England, we have the Liverpool accent or Scouse accent, the Manchester accent. In the towns around Manchester, the former industrial town, there will be the Lancashire accent. And then Yorkshire accent and the Hull accent would complete the northern accents. Coming further south, we have the Midlands or Brummie accent around Birmingham. This is well known. So in the London area, you have the traditional Cockney accent. You've heard of the Cockney rhyming slang. It comes from London. But in recent years, there's been a huge number of immigrants who've arrived in London. So a new accent has emerged, or a new dialect, which is the multicultural London English. In the areas around London, you would have the Estuary English, which is kind of like a mixture between received pronunciation, RP, and a Cockney accent. And then in the Far East and the Far West, you would have the South East accent, and also in East Anglia, the East Anglian accent.
You talk a lot about accents in the UK. So what are the difference between dialects and accent in the UK?
I think in terms of differences between dialects and accents, the dialects would be more focused on the differences in the words used. So for example, I mentioned before the multicultural London English. When the males greet each other in that dialect, they would use the word bro or blood. Blood comes from blood brother. Whereas where I'm from in the north, it would be pal or mate or something like that. Also, there are differences in grammar related to the dialect. In Cockney English, instead of saying I haven't got, they would say I ain't got. There's some differences in the grammar there. With regard to the differences in accents, it's related to how the words are pronounced. So for example, in received pronunciation, the word B-A-T-H would be pronounced bath with a long vowel, whereas in Northern English, it would be a short vowel, bath. In some words, some sounds are dropped by the speaker. In some accents. For example, in some northern accents, they would drop the first sound of the word. So for example, the word happy would become appy without the H sound.
Okay, so let's go to the final question. So can you share your own experience about misunderstanding or miscommunication with English people in the UK?
I think it's difficult to recall particular misunderstandings. I've had some problems with not understanding people. So, for example, my sister's ex-boyfriend was from Glasgow. I could only understand about 50% of what he said. So it made for quite an awkward experience trying to communicate with him. Besides some Scottish accents, there are others which are well known for being difficult to understand. The Newcastle Geordie accent is well known for being difficult to understand. And for some people, the Scouse Liverpool accent can be difficult as well. There's also been some instances where people have assumed the wrong thing from my accent. So some people from the south have assumed I'm from Liverpool, which is surprising to me because to my ear, they sound very different from the Manchester accent. I think a lot of people from the south, they cannot distinguish between different northern accents. It just all sounds like one northern accent to them. So I think there's a definite north-south divide between the accents. The other thing I've experienced is sometimes people have made fun of my accent. But I think the Manchester accent is not the one that's made fun out of the most. The Birmingham accent, there is a stereotype that it sounds stupid. And also accents from the east and west of the country, there's a stereotype that they sound like farmers as well.
Okay, so a lot of information from your own experiences. Okay, thank you very much for sharing a lot of information about using English in the UK.
You're welcome.
และนี่ก็คือความหลากหลายของภาษาอังกฤษในประเทศอังกฤษที่หลายๆท่านอาจจะไม่เคยทราบมาก่อนครับ สวัสดีครับ
สวัสดีครับ